Hi, I'm Jill from KiteCo. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be sewing the Aviatrix. This cute little pattern is the second pattern from Pin It Up Patterns. If you're looking for a bag with lots of storage, I'm telling you this is probably going to be the best option for you. Under flap 1 we have a full pocket with slip pocket. Under flap 2 we have a full divider pocket. We have credit card slots with a pocket on the top. And at the front we have got another zipper overlay pocket. Dress it up, dress it down. I think this is a really versatile pattern. The link to this gorgeous pattern is down below, and I've also set chapters. So if you'd like to jump through to a specific part of the video, it makes it easy to do that. Or why not grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and watch the full video. And hey, if you like what you see, please like, comment, and share. So first I'm going to go through all the pieces as I've got them ready to sew. I've got two little vinyl zipper tabs, which I'm going to keep my vinyl. I've got my zips for my zipper pockets. I need to find my zip for my divider pocket. Two overlays. This is the strap for the back. Then we've got our flap, which has got our interfacing out of the seam allowance. I've got my lining, which is interfaced. Then I have got my accent flap, which is just plain black. They are both interfaced. Then I've got my main panels. Now these have both got the heavy interfacing out of the seam allowances. Now I am trying 2 layers of a heavy woven. It's not really heavy, so I wanted to give that a try as opposed to my Decaville light or heavy. Now I've got my 2 linings, which are interfaced as well. Then I've got my card slot and my card slot backing. Then I have got my slip pocket with the trim. I have got zipper pocket linings, and then we've got our divider pockets. So we have got our 2 linings and our 2 main. So that is what we need. Let's get on and make her now. So because of my fabric, I wasn't able to mark my lines, which you need to mark and fold your folds for your credit card. So I have ironed all mine. So what I'm going to do now is just sew along the top of all the wrong side together folds. So they are all sewn. I should go give that a quick iron. So now we want to measure down the center so that we can do a center line. I don't think this shows very well on this. Okay. So I'm going to do this on my domestic machine. I'm going to sew down the middle. Then I'm going to take our card slot lining and I'm going to sew around the edge, leaving a turning gap in the middle. So that is all sewn all around. I'm going to clip my edges. Forgot how slow my poor little domestic was. And we're going to turn that right side out. Little turning gap in. And we want to give that a good press. So now it's all pressed, we want to just top stitch along the top edge. So that is our credit card slot all done. Credit card sit in there and we'll put that aside. So I've got my zip. I've put my zipper end on. Now I'm going to put a piece of double-sided tape down my little pieces of vinyl that I've got. Now I'm not folding this in. It is a very thin vinyl. So I just put that a little bit less than halfway and fold it over so the ends meet like that at the sides, and repeat on the other side. Now I'm simply going to sew along each edge, making sure you catch the back as well. Now we'll just trim those off. Now run your scissors right along the edge of the zip, then you won't risk cutting the zip off or the tab. And that's our zip with our zipper tabs all in place. So now we want to get our center divider linings and exterior. Mark all your centers. It's a good habit to get into is to mark all your centers when you cut your pattern pieces. So we'll start with one and the other. Now it's up to you whether you use double-sided tape, whether you baste or whether you clip it in place just for ease, I'm going to actually tape mine in place. So I'm just going to put some 3mm double-sided tape along here because then it will be out of my seam allowance. Mark up my center line with the center line on my zip. Helps to take the tape off first, doesn't it? Then I'm going to put another piece over the top, which obviously you don't have to again. Line up our centers and create a zipper sandwich. And we're going to sew along there. Now we want to push that away from our zip. And we want to top stitch, but just between our zipper. Don't stop stitch back here. So that's what you've got. So now we're going to repeat the same thing with the other side of the zip. So that's both sides of our zip in place. So now we want to install our card slots. I'm going to flip everything else up the back. So we know where we want it to be, and we wanted a particular measurement from the top. And we've got our center line there. So that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to stitch around the edge. Now you can put clips in it if you've got some long enough to work. I haven't got any long enough to work, so I'm not going to. So that's our divider all done. We should put that aside for now. So now we're going to add some magnetic snaps. Now this seems a little bit strange, so just go with it. Okay, we want 2 sets to start with. On the lining, we want to put our male side. Now our male is the one with the raised piece in the middle. So that's our male pieces on our lining. We now want to put some female pieces on the front. As I said, this appears wrong, but just go with it. And again, always put tape over the back. Now we want to draw a line 1 inch down from the top edge on both lining and exterior. Put a piece of double-sided tape along the top. And fold this over to meet that line. On both, like that. So now we want to put them right sides together. So now we want to sew around the edge, leaving the top open at the seam allowance in the pattern. So get a pinking shears and just trim that down a little bit. Trim off our corners. And turn that through. So that's all turned through. Get a nice clean edge, and we want to top stitch down those 3 sides we've just sewn, leaving the top as it was before. So that is our accent flap. Now we want to find our center divider. So now we want to draw a line down at a measurement we're giving in the pattern. from the top edge. We also want to draw a box around here, so we want to draw it 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and then we're given the measurement of how big our box needs to be in the pattern, like so. So we've got our line that we've drawn down there, and we've got our rectangle around our box. I'm also going to add some double-sided tape down the back of my flap, because we want to add that centered on the line. Take our tape off and line that up. I've put 2 little marks at the side so I know where it is centered. And we want to sew around that rectangle. Now make sure there's nothing behind it. Flick the lining out the way. So that's our first flap. I think that is pretty cool, isn't it? So that will be in our first pocket. I forgot to close up my pocket. So at this stage it doesn't matter. It can be done anytime. Well, up until now, you don't want to leave it much later. So our divider pocket, we're going to close it up. So it is a little bit more awkward now that we've got our flap on. And we want to stop 1/4 of an inch down from there anyway. So I'm just going to get as high as I can with my machine. So we should have done that before we put our flap on. So all we've done is close our pocket and stopping further up there. So now we want to find our main flap panel and our main flap panel lining, and we want to put the male snap portions in the places that are indicated on the pattern. We're going to put these right sides together. So we're going to stitch from the top down and around, leaving the top piece open. Again, trim down our seam. And trim our corners. Now you want to also snip into that point there. And again, turn through our flap. So where you can, just run something in along the seam just to push it out. So we want nice defined corners. And we're going to top stitch around there, again, at the same seam allowance or top stitch allowance as before. So there is our flap. So we're going to do our strap connectors. So we draw a line down the middle. Add a piece of double-sided tape over the top. Fold our ends in onto the tape, into the middle. Right, then we're given a line to draw down each edge. So now we're wanting to put our vinyl to meet that short edge. So you can put a little bit of double-sided tape there if you want to. And then bring the end over to meet the line like that. Now we want to put some double-sided tape over the back. Right, so now what we want to do is take that off, flip this over, and we want to centre that over the top with it being 1/8 of an inch from that edge like that. Now we want to take our back panel, the one that we've got the zip. So we're going to draw a line on here at the amount given in the pattern. So we've drawn our mark. What we want to do now is add another piece of double-sided tape across here. And we're going to line that up, centered to our mark, like that. So now we're going to top stitch around that box. And again, I'm going to leave long tails and pull them through. So we want to pull those through to the back. So that is our back flap with our D-rings. So now we're going to do our zipper overlay. So as you can see, I have cut the hole, which I find it much easier to do that. Just make it about a little bit bigger than the cutout on the inside of my overlay. Add some double-sided tape around the outside. And it's just a matter of lining that up in the middle, like that. It's always a good idea to check from the back that everything looks lined up. And it's all level from measurements. Take your other bits of double-sided tape off. And now we're going to stitch right around the outside. Now, if you wanted to have edge coated that, you could have done. My vinyl, you can hardly see the end, so I haven't. And again, I'm going to pull my tails through rather than back stitching. So I'll leave that there for a second. So I want my zip and my two pockets. Now there's two sets. This is the bigger one of the two. Now you don't have to put double-sided tape, but I am going to. So what we want to do is zip right side up on the right side of the fabric along the edge. We're going to sew down there. I'm going to go to my domestic and do it. We're going to sew down there. Then we want the same on the other side, like that. So make sure your pockets are right side together and that the edges line up. So we're going to sew down there and sew down there. I'll be back. So I have sewn both sides of that, but then I've also flattened down my seam and done another row down either side, just to make it a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. Right, we're also now going to put a piece of double-sided tape just over the edge. Now I keep it in from the end a little bit because it's only going to get in the way and we're going to pull it off anyway. I love these cute little metallic dragonfly zips. I think they're so cute. I mean zipper pulls. So we'll take one side off. Now because your pocket is bigger at the top than it is at the bottom, or taller, you want the taller part at the top. So now we're just going to place our zip. You can kind of feel when it's level. So just check, and you can see down here that you kind of want it halfway. So now we're wanting to stitch around the inside of that, fairly close to the edge. And again, I'm going to pull my tails through. So now you want to pull your lining down to meet at the bottom. Flip this back and take it up at the side so you can sew down there, along there, and back up the other side. And that's our pocket all closed in. I'm going to trim down my zipper ends a bit. Then I'm going to pull everything back and give them a good melt. So that is our back with our flap attached. Now let's move on to our lining. I have done a zipper overlay in my lining, exactly the same method as I did with the exterior. That's we've just done. So I'm going to leave that to one side, and I'm going to work on my slip pocket. So we want to put that right sides together. And sew down each edge. So I'm just going to snip off the very corner. And turn that through. Now I just put some pressure along the seam to push that out. And push your corner out with I use the back of a paintbrush. And just put some pressure on that seam. So I'm just going to baste across the top. So today I'm going to use a 1-inch trim. Put a bit of wide double-side tape down the middle. And then we're going to lay that so that it is just under halfway. So it's halfway onto there. Fold that over so that the ends meet at the edge. So it meets like that. Now I'm going to start sewing on here, not off the end here, because I'm going to trim that off. And if you just run your scissors up the side, it'll snip that off. Keep them really in close to your pocket. Our other lining. And we are given a measurement of how far down we want it from the bottom. Make sure it's in the middle. Finally. So now we're going to stitch down there along and back up, and we're going to back stitch well at the top and bottom. All done. It's a good size slip pocket. I could fit my phone in that, I think. So we want to take our two linings. One has our slip pocket and one has our zipper pocket. And we want to draw a line down from the top. And we're giving the instructions for the distance. Now we get our divider. Line up all our bottom pieces. So I'm going to line up my centers. Like that. And we're wanting to baste along the bottom. So now I'm going to tuck the flap inside, which is suggested, to keep it out of our way. So now we want to sandwich our divider pocket between our two layers of lining like that. So if you just line up these corners and clip along that edge. Now the divider is shorter, as you can see, so it's not going to go all the way to the top, and that's how it's supposed to be. So the divider is also shorter the other way, so when we clip the other side, we're going to have to do one side at a time. Now, if you need to put on your zipper foot, you might have to do that. So now we're just going to sew down that edge. Then we'll line up the bottom. So line up our centers, and we're wanting to get all 4 layers again. So the center and the corners, and just sew down there. I'm not going to clip it. It's really easy to hold in place. So that's our lining all done. Now we want to get our hand inside so that we can box our corner. So make sure the divider is coming up so it's not dropping back in the lining, because it tends to want to do that. It's quite difficult to hold. And I'll push that out there. So if we just get that corner nice and tight and on a very definite straight edge like it's supposed to be. So clip along there, and again we're going to sew at the seam allowance in the pattern. And that's all caught. So we'll do the same with the other side. Now we want to trim those seams up a little bit, just neaten them up, don't take them too far down. So that is our lining all finished. So now we want to put our snaps on our exterior like we did with our lining. Now that is, the places for those are quite clear in the pattern. So I have marked mine, and this is where the female snaps go on the exterior. And I'm also going to place my bag tag down here, I think. So if you need to figure out where you want it to go, put the flaps on so that you know where your bag tag is going to go. So now we want to put our exteriors right sides together. Line up the sides. Now we sew along the bottom, line up the centers and clip in place. And we are given a seam allowance in the pattern again. Now I'm going to open that out, and this is my favorite part, open up that seam because we're going to butterfly this. So with it open, I'm just going to turn it over like that, make sure that that it's open underneath. Now I'm going to sew this at about a 6mm or 1/4 of an inch away from each side. I love a good butterfly seam. So now we want to lay the rest of it right sides together, line up the sides, and we're going to clip those in place. Now I'm going to do both sides at the same time. These clips. And again, we're giving the seam allowance in the pattern. So we'll sew down both sides of those. So now I am going to put double-sided tape down both sides of my seam just because I want my whole seam to be open. You don't have to do this, but it's just something that I like my seams. It does make a big difference to the finish of the bag when your seams are open. Now we want to draw a line 3/4 of an inch down from the top. Now we on both the back and the front. And put double-sided tape along the very top. Typical, it's stuck. Now again, we want to get these seams open. So if you get those two seams and push them together and put a clip in there in the middle, pull it out at the sides. Yep, it's not quite right. And clip along the whole edge. So you've got a clip on each edge and one in the middle. And we are given the seam allowance for these in the pattern. I'm going to do both at the same time. I always sew another row just 1/8 of an inch in, and that's just for reinforcing. Trim those seams down a little bit because I want to top stitch from the inside. Now we are going to take the tape off and fold that over to be on the line like that. And we're going to do that all the way around. And we'll just clip our way around. So we want to find our lining, and I'm just going to turn my bag through. Just gently push on the corners and turn it through. We should take my clips off to do this, shouldn't I? This is always the best part about making a bag, isn't it? love it. That is so cute. Okay, focus on what you're doing. Right, so now we get our lining and do exactly the same. Fold our lining over to the line that we drew earlier. Then we want to put it inside our bag, because that's where lining goes, on the inside. So tuck your flap, keep your flap in there, and give it a bit of a push to get it into the bottom. Now we want to line up our lining. I'll use these clips because they're a little bit stronger. And just work our way around the bag on the inside. Don't be tempted to have it too far in the bag, but do keep it so that it's not going to be above the front. Now you could put double-sided tape around here if you wanted to. Now we're going to top stitch around there. So I'm going to start in the back, and I am going to top stitch from this side. I'm just going to take it slow and keep it so now I shall make the strap. So now we're going to do our strap. So I've cut it at 3 inches, and because I'm making a 3/4 inch strap, so I'm going to put my double-sided tape down the middle. Now you can draw a line down here, but I'm just going to eyeball it and hope I get it right. Bring that over to the middle. So now I'm going to put another double-sided tape right in the middle of one side. Then it's going to be out of my stitching completely. Then we want to bring that together. Make sure it pinches exactly together. I have a new bobbin, so I am going to sew down the edge. Now I'm going to do a double row. So I'm going to start at a 6 and then I will do a 3. So I'm going to start at a 1/4 inch and then do an 1/8 on both sides. So there is our double strap. I'm going to give those a good trim over the edge. Burn your little ends. Okay, so we're going to go up through our slide adjuster and down the other side like that. And I'm just going to rivet this strap in place. So I shall rivet it there. Now keeping that the same way up, come through a swivel hook, up through our slide adjuster, down the other end, like that. down through our slide adjuster, or sorry, down through a swivel hook and fold it over like that. Now I am going to edge coat my little strap. My lighter's gone. So I shall go rivet those and then attach it to our bag. So that is our strap all finished. Let's put it on our bag. I wish I had more of this accent vinyl, because I definitely would have done the strap in that. But that is so cute, don't you think? And obviously that stretches out to be a shoulder bag or a crossbody bag. So let's have a look. So in our first flap, we have got a really big room and a nice big slip pocket. That is awesome. Let's put that back on there. In our middle flap, we have got our zipper pocket. There is so many pockets in this bag. It is amazing. And we've got our slip pocket behind our credit cards, all our credit cards, and a zipper pocket at the front. So you keep all your secure, valuable things in the front and everything else for quick access in there. Well, I think this is a gorgeous little bag. So that is the Aviatrix from Pin It Up Patterns.